The trade deadline brings hope for change, hope for renewal, but it cannot fix everything with the Orlando Magic. Today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is February 5th, 2026, trade deadline day. My name is Philip Rossman. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com, credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, the Orlando Magic are here. Trade deadline day. They've already dipped under the tax. We'll get into those details in a minute. Why the trade deadline cannot fix all of the Magic's problems, and why a lame duck season might be what derails this team. We'll talk about what comes next coming up here in just a moment. First, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. We truly appreciate you being one of our Orlando Magic dailies, our everydayers who listen to Locked On Magic 5 days a week, who listen on the weekends when we do our weekend episodes like we will on Sunday. That might, like we'll do on Sunday, on Saturday for Sunday. That listen to us as part of their regular podcast rotation, who listen to us as their first listen of the day, who are part of our everydayer club. We want to thank you for making this Locked On Magic community such a great community. And we want to thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. It's your team every day. Let's get the breaking news out of the way first. The main goal for the Orlando Magic at this trade deadline, as much as you're going to hate me saying this, as much as it's not what the fans want to hear amid a difficult 25-24 season, the main goal for the Orlando Magic at this deadline was to get under the tax. And the Orlando Magic accomplished that goal late Wednesday night. Shams Charania of ESPN reporting the Orlando Magic will send Tyus Jones and 2 second-round picks to the Charlotte Hornets for cash considerations. The Magic go from $5.6 million over the luxury tax line to $1.4 million below the luxury tax line. And I see that another deal has just come through. I'm not going to worry too much about that. Hawks are trading Kristaps Porzingis. There we go. It's trade deadline day. Things happen. I have to be near my phone, but being on Do Not Disturb does not work. The Magic are now under the tax, so mission accomplished. That goal is done. But as I've said throughout the course of the last few weeks, that cannot be it. That can't be the end of the conversation for the Orlando Magic. That cannot be, we are done here. We have done all that we need to do because this roster still has problems. And it's not something that can get fixed at the trade deadline. You can put a Band-Aid on it. You're just trying to suture up the wound, put some gauze on the bleeding right now. But the Magic can't be satisfied with what they've done this season. Now, again, I will grant, and I will give the Magic some allowance to say that, yes, injuries have played such a major role on this team, that injuries have cost this team any semblance of being whole. Because when their starting lineup is out there, even though they went 5-6 in those 11 games, in the 11 games that the Magic have had their opening night starting lineup, that group has a plus 18 net rating. Everything functions and everything works. Finding some of the bench lineups has been the trouble. So it's not like we don't have proof of concept. It's not like we don't know that this thing can work. If the Magic's problem is, like, look, the Magic are pot committed to this group. This is your team. The main core, the main 4, maybe 5 players, this is your team. Paolo, Banchero, Franz Wagner, Desmond Bane, Jalen Suggs. Throw Anthony Black in there when he gets this extension. Maybe throw Wendell Carter. That's your 6. Those are your top 6. The question that the Magic now faces, well, why does taking away 1 or even 2 of those players turn you from a team that looks like they could win the Eastern Conference into a team that barely looks like they'll get out of the playoffs. Barely make the playoffs. Forget getting out. Barely make the playoffs. The Magic's problem is depth. And it's not that they don't have good players. Like, there are decent players on this team. Tristan da Silva is still really young. The Magic traded Tyus Jones. He didn't work out. There was at least some logic to what the Magic did with him. It didn't work out, obviously, but there was logic to it. Goga Bitadze is a solid player for what he does. Magic are probably going to trade him. He's probably next in the trade coffers. The Magic have to find a way to add depth. And it's not depth in talent, it's depth in roles. Players who can play a role, work off the ball, work as a cog in the machine. But when players go down, whether it's Franz Wagner, whether it's Paolo Banchero, when players go down, step up to the plate. You don't trust Tristan da Silva to score 25 points when you need him to. Desmond Bane has been inconsistent with it, but he steps up to score 30. The Magic would be in big trouble if they didn't make the Desmond Bane trade. Let's make that abundantly clear. Sure, the defense might be better if Kentavious Caldwell-Pope were still here, but Desmond Bane is why the Magic are still within shouting distance. That trade has worked. Not in the ways we expected, but it has worked. The Magic just need to upgrade their and same thing with Anthony Black. That is a player who stepped up his role. You need more players like that. More two-way players like that who can shift and change as a season goes on. The fact of the matter is, Orlando hasn't got enough from its bench, and their problems have all started when they break their lineup. And then you add in the inconsistency of who's available, of who's around, of who's playing well, of who's coming back from injury. Then you add that on top of it, and it's just been a mess of a season. Should the Magic be better than they've been? Absolutely. Yell at me for saying this, but Paolo Banchero is a max player. The Magic should not have problems, should not be struggling to compete when their max player is on the floor. And look, the Magic are significantly worse right now with Paolo off the floor than on the floor. The on-off argument is bunk. Because right now, the Magic, I think, have a -9 net rating. It's probably worse, especially after the Thunder game. The Magic have a -9 net rating since January 1st when Paolo's off the floor. The problem is it's -4 when he's on the floor. So, yeah, it's better, but it's not good. And you expect your star player to make you good instantly. The Magic need a trade, and the Magic need to be active at this trade deadline. And we said some of the names. Some of those names have been traded already, but I had assumed he's still out there. Najee Marshall's still out there. If you think Daniel Gafford's the guy, Daniel Gafford's still out there. If you want to do a second draft with Dalton Connect's still very available. There are deals out there. There's a rumor about Trey Mann. I don't think that's happening now that this Tyus Jones thing got completed, but there are deals out there. And Jeff Wiltman's not been active making deals, and that is something that needs to change. We're a winning team now. We can't sit still. When something's not working, you mix it up. You shake it up. You be thoughtful. You be proactive. You be intentional. You don't just do things to do things, but you still do things. And so the Magic can't sit still before the 3 p.m. deadline on Thursday. But we also can't pretend that is the end of the conversation. We can't pretend that is the end of the discussion. Because yes, the biggest acquisition the Magic are going to make at this trade deadline is going to be Franz Wagner coming back. He will fix a lot of problems. But clearly he won't fix all of them. Because even before his injury, the Magic were starting to pick up steam, but I wouldn't say they were fixed. I wouldn't say they were figuring that stuff out. And so this trade deadline does not fix everything. It starts the process of building the team you're going to be for the next 2 years, perhaps. Because frankly, Part of the problem is it's not about this season anymore. Why the real struggle for this team might be that it's a lame duck season. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Indeed. Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed sponsored jobs is the move. Because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you match with quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria, life skills, certifications, and locations. If I were hiring, I wouldn't just want someone who can help. I'd want someone with real experience who could jump right in and be a partner with everything that I'm doing. That's what Indeed does. You can get specific and target exactly what you need. And it saves time because you're spending less energy sorting through mismatches. And with sponsored jobs, your posts get seen by candidates who are actually a fit. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is also brought to you by friends over at TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress of guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It is a huge, huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. The NBA trade deadline is here. Like, it's not basically here like my copy says. It's here. And we want to give you a free month of our new Everydayer Club to help you get ready. If you need a group chat to sort through all the chaos, join ours. The Everydayer Club gets you access to a group chat on Discord just for Magic fans, plus national chats. We can hang out with fans from across the league and all go clown on the Sacramento Kings. Sorry, Locked On Kings. I know you're new host here. We're just razzing you. You also get ad-free versions of the show. And if you sign up by Thursday, by today, you can use code DEADLINE to get your first month free. Tap the link in the show notes or visit lockedonmagic.supercast.com to learn more. I don't want to say I've given up on this season. I really don't. Because I this was always a 2 to 3 year journey. The window for the Magic to win a championship is over the next 4 years. And hopefully it's longer. But certainly the Magic have to know, do we actually have a championship team here in the next 2 or 3 seasons? Like the next 2 or 3 seasons, that's the game. That's, if this team isn't showing signs of being a championship level team, by 2030, that mythical year, this team's going to move in a different direction and restart. And we don't know what that looks like. We don't know how that's going to be, but it's still a growth process. I think hopefully we all looked at the season and said, there's an opportunity here. The Magic should be a contender or should be in that contending class, but probably needs some more experience. They need to get out of the first round. They need to experience what it's like to win a playoff series. They need to just continue to grow and trend toward winning a championship. And so I don't want to say that's completely off the table. If you tell me the Magic can fight their way to 6th and play the Toronto Raptors in the 3 seed, or even still the Boston Celtics without Jason Tatum, I'm still somewhat confident with a healthy Magic team that they will have a puncher's chance. If the Magic could somehow get to the 5 seed and play Toronto, again, I feel like they have a puncher's chance. This team when healthy, is good enough. But the fact of the matter is, that's going to be very, very hard. Just thinking about math here. This is just pure math. If the Magic finish the season, they got 33 games left. If the Magic finish the season on a 50-win pace, that's 20-13. That only gets them 45 wins. And 45 wins at this point is the 7 seed. Is going back to the play-in, having to play Miami at home again in a big game. Team that the Magic do very well against. So I'm confident about them winning that game. I don't think Giannis is going to Miami or anything. I don't think John Moran is going to Miami or anything. We'll find out tomorrow, I guess. We'll find out Thursday, I guess. Having to win the play-in, going to the 2 seed, that means you're playing New York or Boston. Like, that's going to be tough. Like, again, like I give Orlando a puncher's chance against Boston. I'll give Orlando a puncher's chance against New York, but it's going to be tough. No doubt about it, that's going to be tough. Someone's going to have to fall back to them. Now, I say that, and that makes it seem like the mountain's so high, but I would also say, like, the Magic are, I think, 3 games behind in the loss column of the 4 seed, of Toronto and the 4 seed. So they're not out of this race yet. But time is running out. Like, the Magic can't just keep muddling at 500 like they have been and being this, again, very mid-team. 16th in defensive rating, 20th in offensive rating. They have a negative net rating. They got a lot to prove, and they got a lot of speed to pick up if they're going to be anything close to what we thought this team could be. And, of course, whenever you fall short of expectations, you have to ask the question about everything. If you as an organization, when you don't meet expectations, when you have a season that is disappointing, you have to ask questions about everything. And while, like, the Magic have done all they can to quiet noise, and again, my impression from things that I've talked to with people in the Magic organization, my impression of things is that the Magic do not believe, or the Magic believe that injuries are the problem. And they're not going to touch anything Jamahl Mosley related until Franz Wagner's back in the lineup. If they're still struggling when Franz Wagner returns, we'll probably have this conversation again. And maybe they will, maybe they won't. Maybe he will fix a lot of things and stabilize things, and they'll start playing at like a 45, 46 win pace. And maybe they start playing at a 50 win pace again. And again, we see where the chips fall at the end of the season. Like, again, long way away from now. Not so long, but they need to start picking up momentum. But undoubtedly, I read your comments. Like, I've commented on this since October, since November. It would be one of the key storylines. Even if the Magic were successful, it's okay, this is great, but can they do it in the playoffs? Is this team ready to take the next step? And so the fact that the Magic have struggled has only increased the volume around Jamahl Mosley. And it just leaves us to this question: is this inevitable? Is part of the problem for the Magic, and maybe this is an argument to fire Jamahl Mosley now, is part of the problem that this is a lame duck season. That everyone at least surrounding the team, even if the team is in denial about this, knows that they're going to make a change in the offseason. And there's always that old saying, why put off to tomorrow? Why put off to tomorrow what you should do today? Now, again, like, I don't think much changes. Like, I don't think, I still think, yell at me all you want about this, I still think Jamahl Mosley is the best coach to guide this team to the end of the season. That's not to say he is the best coach for this team beyond this season. That's not to say that I don't disagree that there are issues and schematic, fundamental issues that this team needs to resolve, and offensive issues that this team has that have finally collapsed everything, that are just at the heart of a lot of things. Is there a problem that the team is not listening to Jamahl Mosley? Certainly not with the same intensity and maybe fire that they did in previous seasons. That's inarguable. Do I think Jamahl Mosley's lost the locker room? No, I honestly don't think so. But this team has struggled to find solutions, and that again falls on the coach to try and find ways to make things easier for players to execute and do the things they have to do, as much as it falls on the players to execute the game plan, which they certainly are not doing, and certainly not at the level that we know that they can. Let me make this clear. Everybody shares blame in how poorly this team is playing. The coach is the easiest one to change. And that is, in all likelihood, the direction the Magic will go if they have a second play-in appearance and lose in the first round. Even if the Magic get to the second round, if they don't look like they could compete with the Knicks, the Celtics, the Cavs, if they're there, the top teams in this conference, the Pistons, if it doesn't look like the Magic can compete with those teams, the Magic are going to try and find a coach that can get them to that level. Like that would be the case if they won 50 games too. I want to make that clear. Honestly, my analysis of whether the Magic should stick with Jamahl Mosley hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed is the urgency, is the belief that this is not working now and the Magic need to do something about it. But it does kind of feel like it's inevitable at this point. And maybe that feeling of inevitability has seeped into everything else about this team. I don't know. Honestly, I am around this team. Obviously, I'm not around them as much on the road. I still just sense an extremely frustrated group. A group that is well-intentioned, that wants to find a way, that is trying to reach back for something that isn't there. And that is the most frustrating thing to watch. Because I don't think anyone is sabotaging anything. I don't think anyone is moving in opposite directions. I don't think anyone is trying to make this fail or want this to fail. I honestly, I think part of the problem is this team is super young. And they got excited about adding Desmond Bane and kind of took this approach of this is going to be easy. Like, we don't have, not that they don't work hard. They work hard. But I think everyone, and that includes Mosley, kind of thought this would click into place a lot easier. And the fact that it hasn't has only frustrated them more. And if that's the lesson this team needs to learn, then that's the lesson they're going to learn. And we'll see what they look like next year. Maybe we'll be a little more cautious. Maybe be a little more circumspect. Not buy into the hype as much. There's still work to do. Jeff Weltman has work to do if that's the case. Go get some veteran guys who can teach and guide this team in a way that their veterans could not this year, whether it was Tyus Jones, whether even it was Desmond Bane. Like, they miss Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Like, it's the right move to move him, but they miss him. And so right now, unfortunately, it does feel like we're drifting to an inevitable conclusion at the end of the season. And I can't imagine that is good for the team either. But we soldier on. We push forward. We move forward. Because this Thursday game against the Brooklyn Nets, trade deadline or not, starts a critical stretch for the Orlando Magic. We'll talk about the road ahead coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. It is the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you are right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you are backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone has been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you are a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Whether we want it or not, there is a game to play Thursday night against the Brooklyn Nets, a 7 o'clock game against the Brooklyn Nets. So it'll be after the trade deadline. Obviously, the Magic will not have Tyus Jones. I don't think he's on the official injury report yet, but I think we know he won't be playing. And we'll see if the Magic end up making another move before the deadline. So always a little wonky at the trade deadline. I don't think Brooklyn's doing anything big, so we'll probably see Michael Porter Jr. in this game. But this is a big stretch. Like this is a huge, huge, huge stretch of games coming up. These 4 games for the All-Star break, all 4 of them feel like must wins. And I will say, as Jamahl Mosley says, 1 game at a time. Don't worry about the whole picture, but we're here to worry about the whole picture. I said before the game against Miami last Wednesday that the Magic needed to go 5-3 over the last 8 games. And in that, I kind of baked in that they were going to, they needed to split the Miami-Toronto game. They were probably going to lose both games against San Antonio, Oklahoma City. So, yes, both losses felt bigger than they were, but there's still 1 loss at the end of the day. And then they needed to take advantage of this homestand to close into the All-Star break. This is a big piece of the puzzle. Orlando's 4 games heading to the All-Star break are Brooklyn, Utah, Milwaukee, Milwaukee. Brooklyn right now is worse offensively than Orlando. Plain and simple. They're worse offensively than Orlando. Utah, they just got Jaren Jackson Jr. We don't know who they're going to play. They're still quasi-tanking. Utah is a bigger challenge because they're so good on offense. They can't defend a chair. So Orlando was up big on them, and then they made this big run in the fourth quarter that required a Desmond Bane game winner in overtime or whatever it was. These are beatable teams. And then Milwaukee, without Giannis, is just a disaster. The Magic should win all 4 of these games. These are all winnable games, and even the players who want to respect all their opponents have to admit these are winnable games. Directly out of the All-Star break, Orlando goes on a 4-game West Coast road trip. At Sacramento, at Phoenix, at the Clippers, at Lakers. If you can split those 4, if you can, beat Sacramento, obviously, but steal a game somewhere, then you're in good shape. Then you're in better shape. Then they come home for another 4-game homestand. Houston, Detroit, Washington, Dallas. Again, all you got to do really is steal one of the Houston-Detroit games, and that's a successful homestand. The schedule's going to toughen up. You can already tell. Clippers, Lakers, Suns, those are playoff-level teams. Rockets, Pistons, those are playoff-level teams. You got the Wolves. You got the Wolves, Bucks back-to-back, which I will be at. You got some tough teams coming up. The Magic play by opponent win percentage the 7th easiest schedule left. That's going to change by the time we get to the All-Star break because you're playing these 4 teams next. Brooklyn, Utah, Milwaukee, Milwaukee. Those are easy games that you must win. And so the Magic have to take care of their business. Because again, the other part of this puzzle is after the 4-game road trip that the Magic take, after the 4-game West Coast road trip, Orlando doesn't have a road trip longer than 2 games the rest of the season. Now, they don't have any homestands after that 4-game homestand when they come back from the West Coast trip. They don't have any other homestands longer than 2 games either. It's a very balanced schedule the rest of the way. And so these next 12 games, let's just say, these next 12 games, that's the season. If you're going to make a push, if you're going to grow and expand and climb the standings, you've got to go 8-4 over the next 12 games. And again, like I said, you can get half of that 8 this week. You should get half of that 8 this week. And that should put you in a position to A, build some momentum, feel some confidence, start being able to steal games again against good teams, like you did against Toronto. Taking care of the bad teams, your Washingtons, who, again, much better than their record. I agree completely. Your Utahs, your Brooklyns, your Utahs, your Milwaukee's, beat those teams. Your Atlantas, you get Atlanta twice still. Much tougher team at the beginning of the season than they are now. And Atlanta's fighting for a play-in spot too, so they're not tough. They're tough, but they're not tough. This is the Magic's opportunity. And if the Magic are going to make something of their season, if they're going to make a push at the end after the All-Star break, which they've done every single year under Jamahl Mosley. Jamahl Mosley's teams have always peaked and played their best after the All-Star break. Last year, they went 12-6 over the last 18 games. They were 14-12 in their last 26 after the All-Star break. Orlando is trying to do the same thing, make a big push after the All-Star break. They've got games in hand. Like, why are the Magic currently 8th when you look at the standings? It's because Miami's played 2 more games than them. 1-1 in those games. At some point, Orlando's going to get those 2 games back. So it's like, Orlando's not actually 8th. They are 7th. They're tied. Miami's ahead by percentage points because Orlando has 1 fewer loss and 1 fewer win. Because they haven't played, Miami's played 2 more games. Orlando's got games in hand on most teams in the league. And so the Magic got to keep chugging along. And it's games like what we're going to see Thursday, Saturday, Monday, and Wednesday. It's those games that are going to determine whether the Magic could turn their season around. Again, go 8-4 over the next 12. You've got some cushion now. You're above 500. Go 8-4 over the next 12, and you're going to be back in this race. You're going to be back in the race for 6th. Like, Philadelphia's coming on strong. New York's playing really, really well right now. Toronto, who knows what's going to happen with Toronto? They've been in some trade rumors. Like, who knows? We don't know how Philadelphia's got a very road-heavy back half of their schedule, and they're going to do it without Paul George. So, they're playing well on this West Coast trip, so I don't want to speak too soon. But I've said this a million times, this is the season. Well, guess what? This is the season. These last 4 games for the All-Star break, you got to take care of your business. The first 8 after the All-Star break, you got to take care of your business. And if you take care of your business will take care of you. And we can put all of this stuff, all of this noise, all of this frustration, you can put it behind you and find a way to move forward to make the most of the rest of the season. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can check out the podcast wherever you download podcasts. You check out wherever you download. You check out podcasts wherever you download podcasts, whether it's Stitcher, TuneIn, Audio. Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the places to download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. This is what happens. Don't have it written down. I have it memorized. Went out of order. That happens. You can also check out our podcast on YouTube. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at @OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. You can also check out our Everydayer Club by subscribing at lockedonmagic.supercast.com. Again, I am attempting to find a way to make my premium articles on my Patreon available to you as part of your Everydayer Club subscription. So stay tuned for that if you're on the Everydayer Club. I may be requesting some information there as well. So definitely be on the lookout for that. I'm trying to make that worth your money. So as always, thank you for your support. We're going to send you over now to the Locked On. If you're on video, we're going to send you over to the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen NBA game night on Locked On NBA. Very busy night in the NBA. Very fun night in the NBA on Wednesday night. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. We'll be back tomorrow to chat a little bit more about what happened at the NBA trade deadline and, of course, break down the Magic's game against the Brooklyn Nets. We'll get to all that on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.